Good evening, Ape Nation. Guys, what's going on? It is Saturday, November 6th, 2021. We are currently 2 days away from AMC's earning report. I know a lot of you guys, as well as myself, are looking forward to this day, hoping we are going to get good news. So guys, I've been working on this video for the better part of a week now, and it's taken a long time because, well, besides having a full-time job, there are so many variables when it comes to the movie industry that you have to take into consideration. Breaking it down by domestic over worldwide versus international, concessions versus ticket sales, number of screens, and the pandemic has managed to throw a monkey wrench into all the numbers because everything has to be skewed according to country. So I have done the best that I can with the numbers that I've come up with and try to give you guys an idea of where we may land Monday and eventually how will that lead to price action going forward after the earnings are reported when the bell closes on Monday and ARON does his earnings call. But before we get way too far ahead of ourselves with numbers and all that,
cue the speeder.
And you just said that on camera. This going viral.
guys, thank you so much for crushing it and getting me to 1,000 subscribers. If I haven't earned your subscription yet, this is the way. So I want to comment real quick about the ARON exercising of the 500,000 shares on Thursday. Guys, if you don't remember, he said in his interview with TREY's Trades, the second interview that they did together, he talked about how he was getting up there in age. He was 67, and how 85% of his net worth was in AMC stocks, and that going forward towards the end of the year, more than likely, he was going to start to exercise some of those to actually have some cash on hand. And look, at 67, everyone should be doing that. So I don't fault Adam for that. I'm not appreciative of the timing right before earnings call and a Friday when we've been on a 5-day run, but it is what it is. It looks like it didn't even hurt us that much. So I think everyone is already over that faster than Evergrande, it seems like. All right, let's jump into the numbers. Let's start with, and remember, this video is going to be based off domestic box office. Because of what's happening worldwide with the pandemic and how half of Australia is still locked down right now, it's very hard to take into consideration worldwide numbers or international numbers. So I'm just going to be basing this video off domestic numbers. Back in Q1, remember, we are at some of the height of the pandemic. Vaccines hadn't been rolled out on a national scale yet, and there weren't the best movies in the movie theater. But our top 5 movies ended up being Tom and Jerry, Raya the Last Dragon, The Croods, Wonder Woman, and Little Things. And we ended up grossing just under $150 million for the box office in Q1. And we ended up missing the estimates on that by about 6%. So it wasn't the best quarter for AMC. But taking into consideration that Godzilla vs. Kong had only been out for 1 day. They released Godzilla Kong on the 31st. That was the last day that AMC counted as the quarter. And so we only got the $9 million from Godzilla vs. Kong in Q1. So those numbers are going to show up more in Q2. Now, speaking of Q2, Q2 was much better, right? We had $444 million in revenue in Q2. We had such movies as A Quiet Place, Godzilla vs. Kong, F9, Cruella, and The Conjuring, and Mortal Kombat came in 6th. So in Q2, we beat earnings by 16%. We knocked it right out of the park with that. It was a great showing. Anytime you have estimates beat by 16% and the quarter before you missed by 6, that's a 21-point swing. So that was huge in our favor. We saw a run up after Q2. We had some price action heading in the positive direction. Remember, that's when we were headed and trying to break that $14 mark. All right, so guys, for Q3, here's what we're going to do. We're going to try to keep it simple. But we're going to take the top 5 earners, which ended up being Shang-Chi at $200 million, Black Widow at 183, Jungle Cruise at 115, Free Guy at 115, and F9 came in 5th with $84 million. Now remember, we're just taking the top 5, so that doesn't take into consideration any other movies that came out before September 30th or were already playing in the theater when the quarter began. All right, so that gives us a total of $697 million for Q3 earnings, top 5 movies. What I found interesting when I looked at the numbers, going back into Q2, the top 5 earners of Q2 and AMC's actual revenue total were only off by $2 million. One was 446 and one was 444. Now, if we did the same thing in Q3, we'd come up with $697 million in revenue. And if we added the $2 million that was off from last quarter, AMC would be in just at $699 million. Now, I mentioned earlier there's a lot of variables that have to be taken into consideration, and there most certainly are. But a few that I actually want to mention in this video were good things, positive things for AMC in Q3. First of all, we picked up a few new movie theaters, and most notably, we got the 2 in LA that are the highest grossing movie theaters in LA County. We also picked up some in Chicago. So Pacific and I believe ArcLight was the other company that AMC bought out. So we have to add some theaters to that, and 2 of the busiest theaters probably in the world. There is also the very important fact that in Q3, AMC raised its ticket price from $10 to $10.50. So all of the movies in Q3, anything that was released in Q3 that you went to go see, me personally, that would be Black Widow, we paid an extra 50 cents per person. So when it comes to Q3's revenue, we have to factor that in. They also did some things internally as far as overhead's concerned. They cut down the number of showings per night. They made them earlier to try to pack in the theaters a little tighter as opposed to having them so spread out. So they're probably saving a lot of money there. Plus all the other things that we cannot possibly factor into this. But when I was finished with the numbers, which I worked on for the last 5 days, I came up with somewhere between $697 million and $825 million. Now, could it be $1 billion? Yes. $1 billion wouldn't shock me. I don't think we're going to get to $1 billion. But if it did come out to $1 billion, I wouldn't be completely shocked. And here's why. Just in October alone, so far, we've had 2 movies that already grossed $300 million just between the 2 of them. Venom: Let There Be Carnage brought in $190 million, and No Time to Die $133, which puts us over $310 million just for those 2 movies in the United States. Then you add in and round out the top 5 with Halloween, Dune, and The Addams Family. It's another $140 million. $575 million so far just in October. So there is no doubt in my mind in Q4, we are going to report over $1 billion in revenue. And it's probably going to be closer to somewhere between 2 and 2.3 billion for Q3. Just because we have not even taken into consideration all the movies that are coming out this month in November. All of those movies are still playing in the theaters. We haven't had Spider-Man released yet. We have not had The Kingsman released yet. We have not had The Matrix released yet. So there's a very good chance that we could end up polishing off the year with a $2 million showing, a real strong showing in Q4. And I'm really looking forward and hoping that that's how it ends up working out. I mean, the fact that we have almost 600 million just in October, we're already beating numbers that took us all last quarter to get up to. And just think about next year, guys, when we have the 45-day limitation on when movies can go to streaming. They have the deal signed with Warner Brothers. Disney is signing on with that. There's a lot of positive things going forward for the movie industry. Adam Aron's announcement the other day, whether I know if not, that's the actual big news that he had, doesn't really matter to me. That was just a bonus that he threw in. I never bought AMC based off of Aron's popcorn endeavors. That was never part of my plan. So if anything, that brings in more revenue for the company, great. We need to keep the stock relevant. We need to keep people talking about it. If you are doing product placement and having AMC in people's minds, the more, the better, in my opinion. All right, guys, so here are my final thoughts, and I'll leave you with this. I have a feeling somewhere between 750 and 800 and a quarter is where we will end up in the millions. And if I had to guess, I would say towards the higher side of that, just when you throw in all the variables that have changed in Q3. And so far, October has turned out to be the best month, beating Q1 and Q2 earnings on its own. And we still have excellent movies to look forward to. But guys, if we don't beat expectations and say we just meet or we come a little shy, I'm not expecting a huge price swing in the stock. Look, this stock has been through the ringer, and it keeps showing up day after day after day. It keeps showing up, going green, going a little red, coming back. It's a tough little stock, and I wouldn't bet against it. But then again, I'm just a dumb ape. What do I know? All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. This is Ape Nation. I'm the Massalorian, and I'm out.